9th, 2023 at 9 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that you please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Lord, we all have plans and agendas in life like we do for the city of Orange. We have aspirations and dreams and strategize making those objectives come to fruition. Your holy word found in Proverbs 5:21 reads, "For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondered all his goings." So because our hearts and minds are known to you, Lord, we know your plans and you know our plans as well. You know the good and the bad, and if we are attentive to your leading, we know you will steer us and shape our plans according to yours. Amen. Thank you for meeting our needs and desires of our heart. You know all we hope to be and do. You know when our plans are wise and when they are foolish. Reveal to us, Lord, when we stray, so that we realign our plans, that we walk in step with your will and purpose for our lives. May all we do be found to be pleasing to you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Salter. On to item 3. Motion finding that the advanced posting and notice requirements of Article 8.1200 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Orange, Texas have been met in relation to all minutes and pending ordinances and resolutions on this agenda, and that the reading of such items be confined to the captions as are agreed upon by the ordinances and resolutions. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Yeah, we have to make sure we speak up so that it can be heard. I have a motion from Mr. Childs, I believe, and from Mr. Birch. So Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey?
Aye.
Thank you all, I appreciate it. On to item 4, and that's not for me, that's so Ms. Anderson can appropriately hear who's giving that motions and seconds. Item 4, citizen comments. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each speaker. Your comments are appreciated. As the Texas Open Meetings Act does not allow the council to respond to items not listed on the agenda, your comments will be duly noted by the council and forwarded to the appropriate department for prompt consideration. A member of the audience that desires to speak during the City Council's consideration of any specific agenda item is requested to notify city staff prior to the start of the meeting. At this time, the name that I have on my list is Mr. Roland Buckner. Please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Roland Buckner, 1404 West Cherry. Good morning, esteemed members of the City Council, distinguished guests, and fellow residents of our community. I'm here today to speak to you about a small but important issue that affects our riverboat launch and pavilion. Firstly, I want to take a moment to commend our City Council for the recent installation of the new floating dock for riverboat launch. The new dock is a great addition to our community and has greatly improved the experience of those who enjoy fishing and boating in the area. As many of you know, the city has invested in a beautiful riverboat launch that attracts locals and visitors alike. Adjacent to the launch, the city has also built a large pavilion, providing a shaded area for those who visit the area. However, I would like to bring to your attention that the fence around the pavilion includes shade trees, making it difficult for visitors to find relief from the sun. Additionally, in the past, all the gates have been kept locked, preventing citizens from accessing the pavilion. I urge you, as elected representatives, to consider installing picnic tables under the pavilion to provide a comfortable and shaded area for families and individuals to enjoy their lunches, snacks, drinks while visiting the area. This would greatly enhance the overall experience to those who use the riverboat launch and pavilion, make it a more attractive destination for visitors. I understand that there have been concerns about vandalism and the ceiling fans in the pavilion as a result. The gates in the area have been kept locked. However, I believe that there is a simple solution to this problem. The city should consider opening a foot traffic only gate between the boat launch and the pavilion during the day and closing it at night. This would allow citizens to use the pavilion and picnic tables during the day while still protecting the area at night. In conclusion, I urge you to consider my proposal and install picnic tables under the pavilion and open foot traffic only gate during the day. These small changes would greatly enhance the experience of those who visit the riverboat launch and pavilion, and I believe would be a valuable investment in our community. Thank you for your attention, and once again, I want to thank the city for the recent installation of the floating dock at the riverboat launch. It is a great asset to the community, and I believe the addition of picnic tables under the pavilion would make the area even more enjoyable. I have a second one, but I don't think I'm going to get through it in the 3 minutes.
Just go ahead, Mr. Buckley.
Honorable Mayor, esteemed members of the City Council, and fellow citizens, I'm here today to speak to an important matter that affects accessibility of our community's beloved Sunset Park. Sunset Park is a beautiful and popular destination for residents and visitors alike, offering a variety of recreational activities such as picnic tables, skateboarding ramps, children's playground equipment. However, the lack of a wheelchair ramp in this park is a barrier for people with mobility issues. This is especially true given that the park is surrounded on 3 sides by residential roads and high curbs in the parking area. To access the park, individuals with disabilities must leave the parking area, go down the residential road and out close to 16th Street, then go down the sidewalk to the gate in the middle to enter the park. While the sidewalk, wheelchair ramps, and fencing along 16th Street and the park, this route can be challenging and inconvenient for people with mobility issues. Installing a wheelchair ramp in the parking area would greatly improve the accessibility of Sunset Park for individuals with disability. It would provide them with a direct and convenient route for the park's amenities, including picnic tables, skateboarding ramps, and children's playground equipment. I understand that there may be concerns about the cost and logistics of installing a ramp given the high curbs in the parking area. However, I believe that the benefit of making the park fully accessible far outweigh the costs. We could explore alternative options such as lowering the curbs or installing a platform ramp that could span the curbs. In addition, there may be grants and funding opportunities that are available to help cover the expenses. I urge the council to prioritize the installation of a wheelchair ramp in the parking area of Sunset Park to ensure that it's fully accessible to all members of our community. In conclusion, I want to thank you for your time and attention and urge you to take action on this important matter. Let us work together to make Sunset Park a truly inclusive and accessible place for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? If not, we will close citizen comments and move to city announcements. Mr. Combs? Mr. Trahan?
Yes, so Mayor, on behalf of the CDB staff, I would like to acknowledge Lee and Harold, as well as Brandy Judice and Allison Clary. We're closing in on the next tourism-related event, Saturday, May 20th, Rock the River. I know all of you have seen a lot of the advertising campaign that's kicked out on this. So basically, the bands that are going to be featured, and this is all at the Riverside Pavilion near the city boat ramp, running on credit at noon, 2 o'clock is Sidecar, 3:30 JT Reserve, 5 o'clock is the Loaded Swallow Band, and then the headliner is going to be Joey Ward. So there will be children's activities, there will be food booths, and hoping for a great weather day and a really good turnout. So the CVB staff has worked really hard for several months to pull this together, and if we get a good weather day, it could be a special event for our citizens, residents, and visitors alike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trahan. Okay, next, we have proclamation, Veterans Stand Down Day. So proclamation from Office of the Mayor, City of Orange. Whereas the Southeast Texas Stand Down Committee, in partnership with the 501c3 nonprofit veteran organization Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans, will hold a Southeast Texas Stand Down for homeless veterans, their families, and others in need. And whereas stand down is a term used in times of war in which exhausted combat units come off the battlefield to rest and recover in a place of safety. And whereas according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the first stand down was organized in 1988 by a group of Vietnam veterans in San Diego. And whereas today's stand down also refers to a community-based program that provides and assists homeless and near homeless veterans transition to community living by providing access to human services, agencies including benefits, counseling, Social Security and veterans, employment and training assistance, healthcare screenings, housing services, legal assistance, mental health treatment, and substance abuse counseling. And whereas stand downs have been used as effective tools in reaching out to hundreds of Southeast Texas veterans every year experiencing homelessness, near homelessness, and their family members. And whereas the next Southeast Texas Veterans Stand Down will be held May 19th, 2023 at the Orange County Convention and Expo Center in Orange, Texas. Now therefore, I, Larry Spears Jr., Mayor of the City of Orange, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 19th, 2023 as Veterans Stand Down Day in the City of Orange, and that the City of Orange supports these stand downs events in a positive way to engage our communities and their resources in assisting our local veterans and their families. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Here we go. Thank you, sir. We're gonna do this. Y'all wanna get in the picture?
Get back up there.
Yeah, bring the whole committee, whoever wants to come. There we go. With the red, white, and blue. There we go. All right.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Maybe get one.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That's good, thank you very
You're
much.
like the first person I had to look up to in a long time.
Just a quick few words. My name is Seth Wells. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. I'm a member of Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans and this wonderful committee for the Southeast Texas Stand Downs. I'm also the executive director of the RISE Center for Independent Living in Beaumont. And we're so excited about coming back to Orange. We had a great turnout last year. And I want to highlight and thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council for allowing us to be here today and for that proclamation and for coming and speaking next week, Mr. Mayor. We sincerely appreciate that. Just wanted to reiterate that I know it sounds like a heavy event, you know, drug counseling and homelessness and near homelessness, but these events are fun. They're fun for our veterans. They're fun for the vendors. There are so many smiles. So one of the biggest things about these stand downs is we break the stigma of the angry, sad veteran. We are members of your community. We are your teachers. We are your doctors, your lawyers. We're your workers. We work in your restaurants. We do all kinds of things. But sometimes, just like any other member of our society, we need a little help. And we've been through things that a lot of people have not been through. We've seen some things that, unfortunately, we had to see to do the business of this country around the world. So we sincerely appreciate any time the community comes out. And I've said it before, we appreciate the stickers and we appreciate the yellow ribbons. But more importantly, we appreciate your face and we appreciate your handshake. And we never want to miss an opportunity to thank our Vietnam veterans and give them a chance to say, give a chance to say welcome home to that generation that didn't get that when they came home. So thank you again to the mayor and this council and to the city of Orange for hosting us. And we look forward to a wonderful event 2 Fridays from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again to the veterans and everyone who has served, which allows us to sit here today to do what we're doing. So God bless you all. We appreciate you. Our next item is item 7, presentation, Basic Economic Development Course Certificate for Ms. Hillary Babbitt. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, so Mayor and Council, we as a city are always very supportive of professional development activity to enhance one's knowledge in their present job and also to prepare them for the future. So Hillary has been appointed Assistant EEC Director since the 1st of January, and it's been 4 months of a whirlwind of activity, as all of us we know. But she did have the opportunity to attend the Basic Economic Development course during April, and let me just highlight a few of the content areas that went in great detail. Business attraction, which is at the top of our list, right? Also business retention and expansion, as well as real estate development. So Mayor, I'll turn it over to you to formally present the certificate that Hillary was awarded at this conference, and we'd really like to acknowledge her for that. Thank you. Hillary?
Well, Ms. Hillary Grant, we have an award here for you, a diploma that I know Brad, Mr. Councilmember Brad Childs is gonna be extra excited about, because this is from Texas A&M, the Texas A&M University System. So to Ms. Hillary Grant, has successfully completed the Basic Economic Development course for 26 hours, April 11th to 14th, 2023, with her continuing education credits earned. And so on behalf of the City of Orange, we want to congratulate you and say, oh, it's just getting started, right? And all the A&M people, you, Allison, and Brad. I went to A&M Commerce, so I'm in Lions, but I'm acting like I'm an A&M right now.
One, two, three.
Thank you, congratulations. All right, on to item 8A, consent agenda, April 4th, 2023, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. Item B, April 11th, 2023, Orange Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes. And item C, April 25th, 2023, regular city council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Thank you. Motion approves. Item 9A, consider an ordinance amending the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022 and ending on September 30th, 2023 in accordance with the charter of the City of Orange, Texas. First reading was April 25th, 2023. Ms. Zito.
Yes, good morning, Mayor and Council. So this is just our final reading. The first reading was at the last council meeting, and this is where we present the budget amendments.
Which we
Went
have
through
here.
'em, and we talked about that most of them are housekeeping, where we roll our projects forward that were finished from the prior year. And there was a few items that we had reserves, and we went through that. Do y'all have any questions on that, or we can go over it again?
No questions, just a comment that if anyone in the public ever wishes to see this material, all things that are said and done are public. So you can come and request for any type of information at any time. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to item 9B. Consider an ordinance by the City of Orange, Texas, authorizing the settlement of the proposed rate increase of Energy Texas Incorporated, finding that the meeting complies with the Open Meetings Act, making other findings and provisions related to the subject, and declaring an effective date. Mr. Coons.
Mayor, Council, good morning. Recently, the Entergy proposed a rate increase. The law firm and all the entities that they represent for matters before the Public Utility Commission finally agreed upon a reasonable rate increase, and that is before you today. So that's the ordinance. If we pass it, it will say yes. If we do not take any action, though, it will still go through. So, if you're against the agreement through the law firm, we need to vote it down. But again, as they have done in the past, in all the matters with Entergy, we usually take their awards with this.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Bailey? Okay, thank you. Item 9C, consider an ordinance of the City of Orange, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Article 3.1200 titled Substandard Buildings by adding Section 3.1217 relating to the vacation and relocation of occupants per Section 214.001 of the Local Government Code, repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance to the extent of such conflict, providing for a severability clause, providing for an effective date, and other matters. Mr. Nall.
This is an ordinance that would amend the substandard building ordinance that would give the city the actual authority to evict people that are residing in substandard buildings as ordered by the hearing officer. A lot of times when we take a substandard building to the hearing officer, that he will order it demolished and then order any occupants to vacate the premises. So this actually gives us the authority to go in and remove people who refuse to move.
And this is not in a hateful way. This is, you know, these buildings are deemed inhabitable because there's several issues that are harmful to the health.
Right, they're unsafe and they're unsanitary.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Knoll. And I love that time. Right, item 10A. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a property lease agreement between the International Paper Company and the City of Orange for the location of an Orange Police Department shooting range. Chief Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. For about the past 50 years or so, we've been having our firearms training and qualifications at a small 1 acre piece of property on the east end of Valley Payne. Over the years, the community's grown up around it. There's a house directly next door, there's a house across the street, and we just needed to start looking for a different place to train. We reached out to International Paper and asked if they had any land that they would like to lease or even sell to us. And they did offer to lease us a 3 acre parcel of property deep within their forested area up on North 87. It's $5 a year. And
Wow.
the lease agreement will be for 10 years, at which time we can, take another look at it, and if everybody agrees, we can continue to lease. It is right now forested, it's got trees on it. International Paper has, of course, they will clear the land because they want the trees. I think it's a great opportunity for the city. It's a safe location. I think it reduces our liability to the neighbors. And we need an agreement between the city manager and International Paper to enter into an agreement.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Chief Martin?
Good idea to reach out to them.
And we're very appreciative for what they offer. It's in a good location. It's just gonna take some work, but I think we can get it done.
I think that was great reaching out. Of course, I could get 3 acres for $5 a year. I just lease it for life, but yes, great job, great place for us to practice. And also, I'm gonna have to reach out to the plant manager and say thank you, because for International Paper to work with us like that, that just definitely shows you how everyone's really working together to help. So thank you for that, Chief, and thank you to International Paper. I'll make a motion again. Okay, we have a motion second, third, and fourth. Mr. Burge.
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan.
Aye.
Ms. Salter. Mr. Childs. And Mr. Bailey. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Chief Martin. Item 10B, consider a resolution authorizing City Manager Mike Coons as the certifying officer for the City of Orange for Community Development Block Grant in Section 108 funding and providing an effective date. Ms. Rita Monson.
Yes, this is a formality. HUD has started requiring us to name our certifying officer. Anytime I have environmentals that need to be signed, I send them to Mr. Coons. And when we do our grant funding, he's the one who also signs the paper. And so this is just a formal naming him as a certifying officer.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Do we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Miss, are you able to hear all of them? Okay. Burge, Hennigan, Ms. Salter, Mr. Childs? Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item 10C, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a second amendment to the wastewater system operation and maintenance contract with Infomark LLC for additional costs associated with operating the Jackson Street wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Jack?
Good morning. We first initiated our contract with Infomark back in 2018. And the way that contract is set up, there's a base operating fee that we pay, and then there are caps for different types of services, not to exceed caps, that we can ask them to do services associated with the wastewater treatment plant up to a certain limit. We first made adjustments to those caps in 2019 with the first amendment to the contract, and we're coming back now to adjust those caps. Obviously, we have not made any adjustments since 2019. The advantages to these caps are that from our being a national firm, we can use their buying power to get items at a smaller cost, so we can get more bang for our dollar. They also can rapidly procure items where we have to go through a very precise procurement process. And then lastly, in emergency circumstances, with these caps in place, we can authorize them to go do emergency services within the plant to get it up and running, again, without having to go through the procurement processes that we do. This second amendment will adjust those caps in the areas of maintenance, chemicals, laboratory testing, and sludge disposal. Again, all have escalated since the first amendment in 2019. The increase is approximately $100,000 total, and staff recommends approval.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Jack? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, thank you, Mr. Jack. Item 10D, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with Lamar State College Orange for disaster-related use of LSCO facilities as an area of debarkation for evacuation purposes in the city of Orange. Mr. Smith.
Morning. It is almost hurricane season again, so find ourselves preparing for it. And in the past, since Hurricane Rita, we stopped by, most recently Laura, we've used Lamar State College Orange facilities for an embarkation location. The city staff's familiar with it, and citizens are familiar with it in the event of a disaster. So I'm just asking the city to agree to the renewal of the MOU with Lamar State College Orange.
Hopefully we don't have to use it, but it's always great to be proactive.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have a motion or a second?
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, item 11A, consider a motion acknowledging receipt of the Orange Economic Development Corporation's annual financial report and audit report as presented by Brooks Watson and Company, PLLC, for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. Ms. Zito.
Yes, so our auditor, John Watson, is here, and he presented the EDC's audit report earlier at the board meeting. So this is to acknowledge that. I believe everyone was here for that, and I passed out reports. Do you want him to do the presentation again for the EDC?
No, I think we're good. We're just thankful for your support and your work as always. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Zito. Okay, item 11B, consider a motion acknowledging receipt of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022, as presented by Brooks Watson and Company, PLLC, as required by section 3.14 of the Charter of the City of Orange. Ms. Zito.
So now I'll present John Watson to give our presentation on the audit for the city.
Thank you, Cheryl, Council, Mayor, appreciate your time. So I'm John Watson from the audit firm Brooks Watson and Company. We completed the audit over the year ended September 30, 2022. So this information relates to that period of time. Y'all have the bound report in front of you, probably handouts of this same slide, but I'm going to hit the high points. Quick overview of the audit process. The audit was completed consistently with GAGAS, that's Generally Accepted Government Auditing Standards. GAGAS approach is a three-phase approach. First phase is planning phase. That's where we look at current year results, compare them to prior year, compare them to our expectations so we can focus on areas we find most susceptible to risk of error fraud. And that leads us to the fieldwork stage where we actually test those results, we vouch it to underlying evidence, send confirmations to third parties, make sure they show the same numbers as the city shows. And if we see any adjustments, we propose those adjustments and determine why they're necessary. And that leads to the last phase, which is the conclusion and reporting phase, where we accumulate those adjustments and prepare the report that you all have in front of you, as well as a couple letters, which I'll touch on at the end. The report itself, there are 7 sections to it. The first section is the introductory section. It's got a letter of transmittal from your management, describes where the city was over the last year and some forward-looking information. Following that is the audit opinion that describes whether the financial statements are consistent with US GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, or if there are any modifications. We'll look at that on the slide to come. Management's discussion and analysis follows that. That shows current year results relative to prior year and some explanation over changes year over year. Then their basic financials, which are presented on a government-wide level, shows all your debt and capital asset activity. Then a fund level, which is more consistent with how you budget. For the back of the report are the required supplementary information section, the other supplementary information and statistical section. Good place to look in your report and see your budget to actual schedule, see how you fared relative to your budget. We'll take a quick look at that for the general fund. And then the statistical section has a lot of trend information. You can see where the city was 10 years ago and then where it's gone over the last 10 years. So a great place to see that really interesting information. So I mentioned toward the front, the independent audit report. This is from us. So again, there are 4 types of opinions you could receive: unmodified, modified, or disclaimed or adverse. The city received an unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance the CPA can provide. Staff, as always, does a really good job of getting us everything we need, working with us, answering our questions, and we're very appreciative of that. In addition to that, the city received a GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellency in Financial Reporting. So the GFOA is a nationwide body that looks at certain cities that want to submit for this award and evaluates that report and make sure it meets all the transparency and qualifications to receive that award. So the city received that for a number of years in a row now. So that's a kind of a next level thing that this city does, as well as some other cities, but not all of them do it. So it's a great thing. Financial highlights for the year. So again, this is September 30, 22, and for the year ended the same. Just going over some high points here, top down. So total assets exceeded total liabilities by about 89 million for the year. The city had an overall increase in net position for the year of about 8.9 million. Third bullet, city's governmental funds reported a combined ending fund balance of about 25.5 million, which was an increase of about 1.5 million for the year. Last bullet, your unassigned fund balance in the general fund, which is where the majority of your activity occurs, was about 16.3 million. That's 70% of your annual general fund expenditure. So that's a metric we look at. Unassigned, so it's not restricted for various purposes. It's ready and available for future expenditures. So you're sitting at about 8.5 months of reserve, which is ideal. If you ever happen to run under, say, 2 months, you're probably running a little too lean by GFOA guidance. So you've got a healthy reserve there. All right, so this is a look at your governmental side. Where are the revenues coming from? Got a pie chart here. If you're visual, you can see where the majority are in allocation here. I'm going to go through just a couple high points at the bottom bullets. So your total governmental revenues for the year were 33,432,000. Prior year, pretty close, 33,123,000. Your largest components of that, property taxes make up 27% in the current year, 9,045,000. Prior year, it was also 27%, 8,721,000. So relatively close. Sales taxes make up 15%, 4,833,000. Prior year, relatively close, 14%, about 4.6 million there. Last bullet, payment in lieu of taxes this year made up 27%, close to 9 million. In prior year, it was 29%, 9.5 million, so decrease in that number. Okay, so that was the revenue side. That's the expense side. So another pie chart for you to get a good understanding on the governmental activity side of where your funds are being utilized. So in the current year, total governmental expenses were 24.8 million. The prior year, it was 24.4 million, so pretty small increase relative. Just working on the biggest areas here, top to bottom. Public safety makes up 48% of that, 11.9 million. Prior year, it was 50%, 12.3 million. Public works makes up 26%, 6,285,000. Prior year was 23%, 5,487,000. General government, 16%, close to 4 million. Prior year, it was 17%, about 4.25 million. Culture and recreation, last bullet, it makes up 9%, 2,264,000. Prior year, it was also 9%, pretty close there at 2,116,000. All right, so that was at a government-wide level. This is a more granular look at a fund level. So on the left column, so each one of these represents a fund or an accumulation of funds. I'm not going to give you a lot of detail here, but the left column is your general fund. That's where the majority of your activity occurs. What I've circled here in red is the net change. So the net change being revenues less expenditures. Did we end up in a surplus position or a deficit position? You can see your general fund was 284,000, so that's good. We generally would like it either break even or a slight surplus there. So we're not eating into those reserves. So that number is feeding into that reserve I mentioned, that unassigned of 70%. That's what that 626,000 is feeding into. The other funds here, there are some negatives, deficit balances, but they're supposed to be. So your GLO grant fund, those were raised in prior years, and then you'll expend those funds. So naturally, in years of more expenditures, those will be negative. So nothing concerning there. Your non-majors on the far right, second from the right, 1,122,549. That is mostly your capital projects fund. So in years of, say, a bond issuance, that'll be a surplus. And then as you use those funds for those capital projects, it'll be negative. So that's what we see here. So some funds we expect to see operating neutral or a slight surplus, and other funds it's just fine, they're operating at deficit. And that's the case here. Okay, so toward the back of your report, there's a bunch of budget to actual schedules. This just focuses on the general fund. I could show you the 20 other funds, but it probably wouldn't be worth our time here. So, but we got final budget on the left here, actual in the middle, and then the variance between the two on the right. So just some high points here, revenues at the top. Your actual revenues were about $1 million over your final budget. That was primarily sales tax, came in well above budget, a little over $700,000 more than budgeted. So that led to a nice surplus there. Your expenditures were less than budget, so you were $870,000 under budget. Multiple departments contributed to that, so just contributions in several departments there. So this all kind of fed into your overall positive change there of $1.6 million relative to the budget, okay? So after all the budget amendments I just circled on the left, you actually were budgeting a deficit, but you ended up in a surplus position of $284,000. Therefore, the positive variance of about $1.7 million, okay? So a few more slides for you. So everything up to now has been governmental activities, so your taxes and how are those funds being spent. This is proprietary funds. So for this city, it's water, sewer, and then sanitation. So generally, we think about proprietary business type activities. These should pay their own way. So that's why we look at operating income, and that's what I have circled here. So revenues less expenses, these should be paying their own way, and then ideally operating a surplus because you're going to have future capital expenses to fund. And we see that here. So water and sewer operated at about a $500,000 surplus, sanitation $24,000. So everything's kind of working consistently with expectations for these funds. Okay, two more slides, I believe. This is a look at your pension. So you've got two main pensions for this city. You've got your TMRS that covers the majority of your employees. That's at the top. You've got your firefighter pension, which is middle and down. We'll start with the top. Look at that position. So we're looking at what is the asset relative to the pension liability. Pension liabilities generally are liabilities. Usually the estimate from the actuary is greater than the asset accumulated. It's more common. That's why it's shown as a negative. This actually is contrary. Your asset actually exceeds the actuarial expectation. First time I've seen it with this city for the TMRS pension or any pension with this city that I've seen. So that's good. So you're actually funded over your liability position, so that's a good thing. We'll look at the bottom one here. Bottom one is creeping up, and you can see the trend line, right? So 2018, you're at 87% funded, and then if we work right to left, each year it's improved, and now you're fully funded. So we'll look at the firefighter pension at the bottom. Not as good a picture here. You're 62% funded, so that means your asset relative to that estimate of the liability, you're 62% of the way there. But you can see the positive trending right to left again, 35% way back in 2018, and you're up to 62%. So that's moving in a positive direction. Market has a huge impact on these, as you all know. So there's going to be ebbs and flows. Some years when we have a bad stock market year and those investments don't do as well, there'll be dips, but ideally, the long-term trend heading in a good direction. Just something to note, what do these percentages mean? Why does it matter? Well, it matters for funding. It matters in the future. so it's hard to say what's good and what's bad, but it's good to know what's average, right? So a study by NCPERS did a nationwide study in the US of government pensions. Average funded position is 75.1%. So you are well above average in one pension and below average in the other. Okay, so that's kind of gives you an idea of where you're at. Okay, so that's real high level, a lot of information, hopefully not too many details. In addition to that, there's some letters. Those letters, the first one just describes that we're independent, some standard language in there. There's no fraud or theft encountered from our audit, certainly something we look for. Though we don't do a forensic audit, it is something we're always aware of and keeping an eye out for. In addition to that, audit adjustments are listed in there. Not a lot of audit adjustments with this city, which really just allows us to do a deeper audit. So your finance department's doing a great job from my perspective. And then another letter, we do walkthroughs of controls. So naturally, we might find things that we think, hey, might be a better way to do this, or we might consider this type of control. You have a letter over those considerations too. So that is all the information I wanted to share. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. As always, we appreciate you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Watson? All right. Well, once again, thank you. And once again, thank you, Ms. Ito, for your wonderful work. It's awesome to see that we're doing good. And with 8.5 months of money in the bank, in case anything happens, that's a good place to be. So thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Okay. All right. So now we have item 11C.
We need a motion, Mayor.
We need a motion, I'm sorry, a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? A motion passes. Thank you once again. Item 11C, discussion and review of the Orange City Charter sections 3.015B and 3.15 regarding mayor and council and staff relations. And so this one is actually being presented by me, and so I will bring forward. So this one right here is talking about mayor, council, and staff relations. What I would like to talk with the council about and with the staff that are here, and moving forward with this, we will have to send out information to all the staff. Basically, what we have received, what I have received, and what Mike has received is that people have wondered and asked questions about what does the mayor do? And what does the mayor do as far as getting people hired or fired and things of that nature? What does council do about hiring and firing and things of that nature? Another issue is several council members and people on other boards feel that it is their right to just walk into people's offices here within the city of Orange with staff, calling them on their cell phones, giving them direction, telling them what their issues are. We have to follow the city charter. We are the ones who help push the city forward through the city manager. If we are walking into people's offices, if we're calling them on their cell phones, telling them what we need, looking for favors or issues that we're trying to address, then that is taking them away from the direction that is given by the entire council and pushed through Mike Coons as our city manager. So first we'll start with 3015B, which refers to myself, because I've had several people say, well, he must be getting somebody hired, or I've been accused of not getting somebody hired here recently, and so I want to address that. It says 3015B, this is from our city council charter, the code of ordinances. The mayor shall be the presiding officer of the city council and shall be recognized as the head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes and by the governor for purposes of military law, but shall have no regular administrative duties. The mayor shall be entitled to vote on all matters under consideration by the city council. So I do not hire or fire anyone here. I do not put in recommendations to get anyone hired or fired here. Most of the times, if you really think about it, if I was to tell staff to hire somebody, they probably wouldn't want to hire him because they'll say, he just wants somebody to be a little lookout on the inside. So I do not do that. Neither does the rest of this council. Okay? So for those who are asking of that, that is it. Okay, item 3.15 says neither the city council, any of its members, nor the mayor shall direct the appointment of any person to or his removal from office by the city manager or any of his subordinates, which means we can't, none of us here can hire or fire anyone, okay? Or in any matter interfere with the appointment of offices and employees of the city. Except for the purpose of inquiry, the city council and its members deal with the administrative services solely through the city manager. So we are not to walk into offices and tell Adam, Jack, or Kelvin off, we need this done. We are not to be calling cell phones saying, I need this to happen. Our job is to follow the charter and to work through Mike Coons. So if anyone has a question or comment, I'm open to speak about it, but we have to make sure that we are reinstating proper order, because I have received a numerous amount of issues and comments with this. People in the community over recent hirings who think that we're doing something that's underhanded or behind closed doors. I have nothing to do with that. This council has nothing to do with that. Those of you who work for city staff, if city council members or anyone else that's on any board is just walking in your office trying to give you things to do, you can tell them, please contact Mr. Mike Coons, because that's not how we are supposed to work. If they're calling you on your cell phone and telling you something that they need, their job is to work solely through the city manager. That is in our city charter, okay? If I continue to hear about these things, I don't know what I can do, but I will find out what is under my jurisdiction as the mayor, because as much as we've had go on great here, I'm sick and tired of the things that I'm hearing about, and we must reinstate order, okay? So is there anyone that has a question or comment? Okay, if not, we will move on to the next agenda item, okay? And that is discussion and review of the Texas Government Code, section 551.143, regarding walking quorums. Mr. Coons.
Mayor, council, and again, we probably should do these kind of things every year, so just kind of review how we do things. But one of the tricky ones is the even unintended violations or potential violations of the Open Meetings Act. Meaning things like, I'll pick on these great phones. Y'all will probably notice like yesterday, with everything going on, so I'm texting y'all. Do not text everybody at one time, because we don't want to be in violation of the Open Meetings Act, meaning that I text a quorum of the council, which wouldn't be the concern, but if y'all started texting me back so that everybody's in there. So things like emails, which commonly, the staff, we try to put in there, please don't reply all, although we're all human, and so not just City of Orange, but I see other people too, it's like, ooh, reply all. It's like, gotta be mindful of that. So we don't send things out, messages, be it text messages, emails, graffiti on the wall somewhere where there's a quorum of the elected officials. So those are just things we need to be mindful of as we move forward. And again, if we try to do something such as, well, I'm gonna do two, it's more of a discussion. Not as concerned about information. Hey, here's something that's going on, it's just a fact. Here's something else that's going on, just to let you know. We don't need a response, but if it's something like, again, hey, 2 council members, I'm thinking this, what do you think? And then I go to the next 2 and kind of, I'm trying to poll. That's forbidden. And I will tell you why we say review. I mean, literally yesterday, I went to the TML website, lots of good information on there. But whether it's something regarding the Open Meetings Act, public records requests, we're about to go into some executive sessions. I look at that stuff all the time. Let me make sure I'm in compliance. So it is not something that you just read and say, I got it. I mean, I do it all the time, but some of the other staff does it too. We review these things all the time. So that's why the mayor and I wanted to bring some of these things to y'all, just say, let's just take a look at it again. It's not something you just check your block and you got, because it's evolving. And we're all human, so we just want to get in there and just kind of, okay, let's stop and think, so that we want to be in compliance. Because as the mayor always says, early in the meeting, he held up the book and said, this stuff's available for everybody. So we want to be transparent. We don't want anybody to think we're kind of sliding, backsliding, and we're doing something we're not supposed to be. So we just want to review every now and then and say, let's do everything in order. So.
Yes, sir, thank you.
And I know, before I forget, so a tricky one is social media. Remember, so read a post something, hey, we're gonna get this through CDBG funds. Hey, that's great. We need to do this other part. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh kind of killing me. You got, everybody commented that it's great, we need to do some more. It's like, that can be considered a violation. And I know it's very frustrating. But we have to be mindful, we have to be in compliance.
Yes. So thank you. So I'm actually very honored to be able to serve on the Texas Municipal League. And one of the things that recently came up is, I'm not gonna say the name. Of course, Texas has over 1,300 cities, but 2 boards, because they all knew each other, it's a small town, they went and created a group meet away from the council. They're in trouble because they were like, hey, where we're gonna go eat, where we're gonna do this. Well, one person brought up something on a school board agenda item and they all were talking about it. Now they're in trouble. So social media is not real. Social media is not a part of the Texas Constitution.
That's not your friend.
It's not your friend, yeah. But what I'm saying is we have to, if we're having these issues, I'm seeing other people that are having these issues, let's make sure that we don't have these issues. I know a lot of times, and I'm bringing this up, I brought this to Mike a week and a half, 2 weeks ago to put it on the agenda because I felt like if anybody, I'm one of the worst ones. I'm always excited to talk about something that's happening, whether it's Navy Park getting redone or something happening in Northway or something that happened in District 2. Well, then next thing you know, we're all like, yeah. And then somebody jumps on one of us and the rest of us are like, hey, wait a minute, we are working on that. We just did a whole bunch of stuff we can't do. I did not realize that either. So if I get in trouble, it's on me, but I wanted to be, as the presiding leader of this group, I'm making sure that I'm not calling people out. I'm saying, moving forward, that's why we can't tag each other on everything and do all of that. We want to do what's right. And when things start going good here, people are looking to do something or be upset. So let's make sure we move forward in a proper way. Guy, do you have anything for us?
No, just appreciate the level of transparency and the level of ethics that the council board shows.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We're trying. Like I said, if I get in trouble, oh well, but I'd rather be honest and say it up front than have something happen and then say, well, I probably should have brought it up and I didn't. Okay? All right. Now, with that being said, we move on to reports. City manager report.
Mayor, council, 3 things. First of all, next Tuesday, so May the 16th at 5:30, we will have a special call meeting to canvass the vote from the municipal election that we just had, and also to select a mayor pro tem. Second, out of the boat ramp, the gentleman earlier mentioned it, the floating boat dock, that was a donation from the Sabine River Authority, so thanks to them. They are gonna push out some publicity on that, but they wanted to lead the way on that. The SRA did. Then also, did want to note that our Deputy Director of Public Works, Madison Floyd, she's out working because of all that weather events, but she did earn her professional engineering degree. So big kudos to her. So both she and Adam Jack are professional engineers. A lot of cities don't have 1 PE, much less 2. So again, kudos to the city of Orange, and kudos to her, more importantly. That is it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coons, and congratulations to her. Because we definitely, as we're doing and fixing all these lines, we gotta make sure we're doing it right. Okay, city council report, starting with Mr. Bailey.
No report.
Okay, Mr. Childs.
2 weeks ago, Mayor Spears and I were standing on 16th Street, and the superintendent for Williams Brothers was mentioning to us from the address 3720 North, which floods the TSO parking lot. The ditches going, the water flow is supposed to go north, not south, and he said they will never flood until TxDOT or the city gets with TxDOT about clearing the ditches out from 3720 North. I'm sure everybody's noticed during a heavy rain, TSO goes completely underwater. So that was brought up to us by the superintendent for Williams Brothers. You were there when he mentioned that. And we all thought it went the other direction. So I was wondering if the city could check with TxDOT on that problem. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Ms. Halter.
I just want to tell people to just be careful out there. I saw several pictures of a lot of debris and lines down in several areas, so just be very, very careful. And if you see something and you think it hadn't been really reported, it doesn't hurt to report it so that we can get those things, some attention to those things. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Hennigan?
Cheryl, thank you again for, once again, an awesome audit. Makes me feel very comfortable. And congratulations to Paul Birch. The 40 years of community service that you've poured into Orange really paid off.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hennigan. Mr. Burge?
Yesterday, I had 2 people contact me about the process we would have to go through to turn our animal shelter into a no-kill shelter. I understand there's some neighboring cities that have done that. And I told them that I would start the discussion. We'll go from there.
Beaumont just did that.
I think so. And so, anyway, I'm starting the discussion.
That's a great idea.
Interject one thing, Caroline said something about the lines down. Please don't approach one if you see one down. So you don't know what's live and what isn't.
Thank you. And then, anyway, I wanted to thank the city for re-electing me.
Okay, and I will close out by saying thank you all for being here. We do have an executive session, but I tell you, so listen, a lot of times we talk about it. Some people say that religion has no place in politics. This isn't politics. We're all up here because we want to help our city. Once again, we were spared last night. Tornadoes touched down in several places in Orange. There were several people who saw it touch down in their backyard. No lives were lost. We can replace fences, we can pick up trees, but we can't replace each other. So I'm thankful to God for that. And last but not least, before I go to executive session, I'm not sure on what we can do about this as mayor and then as council, but I would like for staff to please find out what can be done about overabundance of vape shops. I think that we have more than enough, and I'm tired of seeing them. I don't know what we can do about them, but I'm tired of vape shops. I'm tired of 8-liners. We're trying to do things that are right and to promote a positive atmosphere for the community. And every time one of us looks up, there's another vape shop on another corner. So if there's anything that we can do about that, please let us know. And we will move. Mr. Guy, I know you're the man with the master plan. Let us know what we can do. With that being said, let's deliberate, adjourn to a closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.076 regarding security devices or security audits, and 551.071 consultation with attorney regarding the pending litigation of Destiny Turner versus the City of Orange. At this time, you're welcome to hang out in the library, and we will let you know when we reconvene, but there probably won't be any action, so we'll see you next time. Open session, there is no action to be taken. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
We do have that item on Destiny Turner.
Okay, I'm sorry. Item for action for 13A2, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Just let you say something, let you say it.
Yeah, the council has previously approved the settlement agreement in the matter of Destiny Turner versus the City of Orange, as the council has been requested to approve for inclusion in the settlement agreement a mutual non-disparagement agreement, and we do recommend that be added.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned, thank you. Is that good? Okay, good. I know you heard the first and the seconds and the thirds and the fourths. All right. Each time?